I'm Eric Bass, and I'm in the band Shinedown. Oh man, Shinedown's been off the radar for a minute. I think the last time we played a show was October of 2013. And I think you were there actually. Yeah, we've been writing a bunch. I think we've written close to 40 songs for the new record, intended for the new record anyway. And we've narrowed that down to 15, and we've gone in the studio and started production on a new record. I actually got to produce and engineer the first track. It's called Cut the Cord, and used a ton of Jay-Z mics on it. So we're getting ready to start tracking the rest of the songs starting Monday, actually. I'm going to be doing a lot of co-producing on the record as well with the rest of the songs, and actually really excited about this group of songs we have right now. I actually think it's they're stronger songs than we had going into Amaryllis, which makes me feel good. You know, we're trying not to do. We'll see. I'm gonna say this, and then we'll see how it ends up when it's done. We're trying not to over-track. We've done a lot of layering in the past on our records, and lots of tones and layered sounds and that sort of thing. So with the heavy songs, we're trying to pay a lot more attention to just the tone itself of a single guitar or just a double left and right guitar, and trying to get as monstrous a sound out of that as we can. So the heavy songs are just as heavy as what we've done in the past, but sonically we're trying to maybe try something a little different with them. The slower songs are I think way more interesting. We have a lot of just we did a lot of exploring sonically. I've been spinning a lot of vinyl and sampling a lot of vinyl, so that's kind of worked its way in, not in like a rap or hip hop way, but just to create new sounds. Instead of using a keyboard for a sound, I'm going to go on a record somewhere and I'm going to try to find a great little string loop that I can create out of a couple of different songs, and put it together. And it's been so I think tonally it's going to be a lot more ear pleasing and interesting than the last record was. Well, yeah. So as far as stripping down the drums and Barry and I have been experimenting a lot in the studio in the off time with that on stuff that's not Shinedown related. So he and I have been working on, I won't say it's a side project, but we've been working on making some other music, and so we just experimented a lot with it, and we found something that we really loved a lot was stripping the drums down to a kick and a snare and a hi-hat, and just tracking like this, and then adding in cymbals later, maybe adding in toms later, or tracking the toms with the drums, at the same time. But then maybe pulling out the main snare drum and kick drum microphones out of the mix and dropping in something artificial for a kick drum and a snare drum, but you've still got these room mics and overheads of the organic drum kit. Man, we're just always trying to look for a different way to make sounds and a different way to I'm not going to say a different direction for Shinedown, but just trying to keep it interesting. It's got to stay interesting for us. I mean, what do they say? The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. So we don't want the same result every time. So we've got to kind of reach in and try some different things. And that's one thing we've been messing around with. You'll hear it on Cut the Cord, on the first single, when it comes out. That also enables me to take my drum signals and pass them back through tube preamps and that sort of thing and distort them and then put them back in with the original sound and make them dirtier and grittier, because I don't have this cymbal wash to worry about. I can actually get these punchy tones coming back through. And Barry's such a good drummer, man, that he just pulls it off. He's one of the few drummers I found that his style doesn't change and he doesn't play any differently when he's not playing with the full kit. If he's just playing kick and snare, it still sounds like him doing it. He's definitely got a sound. So yeah, we're just really looking forward to experimenting more with that, with bringing. I think on one song we actually hit a mallet on a garage door and recorded that through a compressor, and it sounds huge. And we ended up putting that in for the snare drum sound. So just messing around with some different stuff. We don't want it to sound like a traditional drum kit all the time. As far as how many mics I use when I track drums, it depends on what I'm going for. I've actually been experimenting a lot with the 3 mic setup, or that I do an extra mic. I do 4 mics, but we're 3 feet up, 5 feet out, or 5 feet up, 3 feet out. Sorry, I had that backwards. In front of the drum kit, and then a kick drum mic and a snare drum mic. But then I'll end up putting one behind the kit as well because it gets a better snare sound for me. And just doing that, and you're kind of you really have to have a good drummer. You're committed to the tuning of the drums and the sound that you get because you're not gonna, you don't have all these options. It better sound good. I've been really enjoying that. And then sometimes, man, I'll put mics on the top and bottom of the toms and ribbon mics in the rooms and two overheads with one extra one overhead. And I just it really just depends on what type of band it is, first of all, and what the sound is that I have in my head of what I want the end result to be. What am I going for? And for what I was explaining earlier about this more stripped down drum sound, the less mics, the better, honestly. It's called air movement, man. The thing about being in the box is it's too good sometimes for me. I mean, it's always going to sound great in the box. It's a prefab setting. There have been hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not millions of dollars in some cases, spent on making these tones sound exactly right. But that's no fun. There's no fun in that for me. I like to discover things. I like to find things. I like to I might spend 3 hours moving microphones around and getting different sounds, but doing that in real life, you're actually moving a diaphragm that's passing through great preamps and then making a speaker move. And there's something special. I call it moving air. There's something special about having something moving air in your mix that you're not going to get in the box. I don't care how good it gets. It's never going to beat the cabinet to microphone to preamp to tape or into the box, and then moving those speakers and hearing that back. I'm not saying I don't use in the box stuff. I do. I've used it, but you can't only use that. It's called having Brent Smith as your singer. I could put that guy in front of a can with a string and it would sound good, and I mean that very sincerely. Yeah, he's a great singer. I've been way caught up on tube preamps lately, and I've just really been enjoying recording vocals through tube. There's a certain glue that you get with tube that if I track my bass and my drum room mics and some guitars and then my vocals through tube stuff, it lives together in a certain way. I know that there are people that could tell me about all the harmonic response and everything else and why that happens. I've really gotten into the tube stuff. You have to be careful with it, not to drive it too hard. You can end up with some unsavory things, but unless that's what you want. Sometimes you want unsavory things. It's not really so much of a technique, just as I've become sort of a tube junkie. So, and honestly, and I'm not just saying this because I'm here, but the black hole into my tube pre's is my favorite vocal chain, and I do shootouts, man, every time that I get a new singer. I've recorded Brent on Neumanns and AKGs and everything else, and it sounds better. The black hole sounded better, and normally my go-to for him would have been a 414. That's just kind of, I've actually recorded him on dynamic mics as well, but 414 is usually the go-to for Brent, and when I was working with him, and the black hole just has so much more response, and just has a sheen to it that you don't get with the 414. Eddie sent me the HH1, and I don't know, it was about a year ago or something, yeah. And I got it, and of course I've got a studio full of 57s and 58s and that sort of thing, because that's what you keep around. I'm always excited to get a new mic. So the first thing I did was throw it in front of a guitar cabinet, and I just kind of pulled the windscreen here off and put it down in front of a guitar cabinet. It just sounded great, and then used it on some horns and saxophone and trumpet and that sort of thing. That it handles the SPLs really well, and then come to find out, we got a new guitar mic here. So is that GTR1? Is that right? Yeah. So, and I'm excited about this too because he was telling me, Eddie was telling me that that they kind of use the same basic diaphragm out of the HH1, but that there's less you're getting less noise from the back of the mic, and I'm actually more excited about that for drums. I was telling him there's a miking thing that I read that Brendan O'Brien does, and he calls it the dick mic on the drum kit. And he put it kind of down in the drummer's crotch, kind of pointed at the kick drum or the snare drum or right in the middle of the kit. But for me, when I've tried that, I don't want a lot of sound around the mic. I want it to kind of be directional so I can move it and put it where I want it to be to pick up if I want more kick or I want more snare, or maybe I want to point it straight up in the air, depending on how it sounds. So I'm really excited to try that on some drum stuff, to be honest with you. But and guitars as well, man. I'm happy, and it's very ergonomic, for recording guitars. It's perfect. You just drop it down in front of the cab. For live purposes, you can just hang it. I can't get away with that in the studio because it'll get moved, but with all the people I have floating around my place, you never know. They like to move things. But yeah, man, I mean that's perfect for miking up a cabinet. I mean, look at it. It's great. And the quality of the microphone, Jay-Z builds a great mic. The thing that I was really pleased about is when I met Eddie and we started to talk about working together was it wasn't just another Chinese mic company, and they see they're a dime a dozen, and you can go online and get, for the same price, get something that's not as well made. And I was kind of over that, I get lots of people through my studio, lots of other engineers and that sort of thing, and they're always enamored with Jay-Z because they're made in Latvia and they're good quality, and for the same price you're going to pay for a lot less microphone somewhere else.